before I bring Philly 500 in, here's my top 10 general managers. NFL.com had Howie 1. I had Telesco 10, Brad Holmes from Detroit 9, Brian Gutekunst, Green Bay 8, John Lynch 7, San Francisco, Les Snead, Rams 6, Brandon Beane, Buffalo 5, John Schneider, Seattle 4, Duke Tobin, Cincinnati 3, Howie Roseman 2, Philly, and Brett Veach, Kansas City 1. And the only reason, like I said, that I put Veach number 1 is because he beat him. He's the king. That's it. If Howie had 1, I would have said Howie's the best. But you got to give the guy his due. He's won 2 Super Bowls in the last 5 years. Okay? That being said, we bring our boy in Philly 500. What do you make of that list, brother?
I like it. I'd flip 1 and 2 personally, but I like it. Yeah.
Only reason, again, and the only reason is because Veach won the Super Bowl. You know, it's. I think both guys have done a great job. But I will say this about Veach. I mean, they've lost so much personnel in Kansas City, but the quarterback allows them the autonomy to make those moves because he's so elite and so special. So, again, I personally, do you agree when I say this? Jalen Hurts couldn't take that Kansas City team to the Super Bowl. Well, wait a minute. If Andy Reid's his coach.
I don't know. I mean, Andy's pretty good coach, and he makes. Here's the thing I'll say is if you look at where Kansas City was going into that season, they were already contenders. If you look at where the Eagles were when we lost to Tampa, we were clearly a team that you could say we're not ready to play and be on that level. So the amount of things the amount of movement he had to do to get to that level to even compete with Kansas City, I thought was tremendous.
I'm going to show you something here, Philly.
Mm-hmm.
Were you able? Are you old enough to watch and have watched Emmitt Smith play?
Yes.
Okay, you would say that Emmitt had the better old line than what I'm going somewhere when I'm going to show you that Barry Sanders did not have a very good old line. Emmitt had the better line, and that's what made Emmitt the better player. Because he had the better old line.
Now this is going to be like my dad, and this is me and my dad's argument. I'm Barry Sanders is my guy. Like, to me, he's the greatest running back I've ever seen. So
you think the difference was the old line in Dallas?
Well, I think he definitely had a better line. He also played a lot longer. Like, if Barry Sanders plays and extends his career,
it's true.
Plays 5 more years. Emmitt's not getting close to Barry.
You're dead on. And by the way, Barry was a teammate of mine.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you this: he averaged 1,500 yards a year. He averaged 10 touchdowns, and he had left the game at 1,500 yards. He was just like 1,000 yards shy of breaking Walter Payton's record. But I want to show you something here, and I'm going to translate this over to the Eagles now.
Okay.
That old line that was in Dallas. Mark Tuney was a Landry guy. Nate Newton was a Landry guy. Kevin Gogan was a Landry guy. Crawford Kerr was a Landry guy. The only guy they brought in was Mark Stepnoski. What changed? And you know how many wins they had with Tom Landry his last 2 years? 4 wins a year.
Yeah.
You know what changed that line into being the greatest line? An elite back.
Yeah.
Emmitt Smith changed that line into elite all-pros. My point is, in Philly, you put an elite back behind Jalen Hurts.
Oh.
You turn already a superstar line into maybe the greatest line in the history of the league. Because you've had no superstars since Brian Shady and Brian Westbrook. Those two dudes. Yeah. Bro, you put an elite player back there behind him. Doesn't that change the room against Kansas City? How about this? If you had Derrick Henry running the ball against Kansas City, how many points do you beat Kansas City by in the Super Bowl?
I think you beat them by at least 7. I think you win the game. I think if you could have run the ball, if they ran the ball more effectively, Kansas City may get one last series to drive down the field. So yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I do agree with your point is about a great running back with a great line. I totally am in agreement with you. I say it all the time. If the Eagles' offensive line is so great, they make an average running back great. What do they make a great running back?
Correct.
They make it historic. That's what they
make. The only position on the offense that you're not elite is running back.
Right. I totally agree. Totally agree.
Do you agree too also, Philly? Building a team around Jalen is completely different than building a team around Wentz.
Yeah, you're gonna do it in different ways. Absolutely, 100%. But I mean, if we're talking about building a team, and what do we always say? Stability, right? Where these guys play together year after year. What are we talking about? Running back. Okay, you got Penny. He goes out, has a great year. He's gone. You're gonna bring another. We're gonna play musical chairs at running back for the next 3 to 4 years with Hurts, or you go out and you get a really good back. And you plug them in for 4 to 5 years, and you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yale goes like this. He goes, the defense needs work. I'll say this to you. I wouldn't look at Kansas City's defense and go, that's an elite group of dudes. Right. They got an elite tackle.
Right.
Okay? They got an elite tackle, pretty good linebacker, rookie corner. I mean, but you got an elite coach, an elite quarterback.
Yeah.
The Eagles, in my opinion, still have a better roster than Kansas City does. Do you agree?
Yeah, I do. I felt like we should have won that Super Bowl. And I know why people say it, because they say, well, we have one stop, we probably win that game. And that's very true. But in today's NFL, it's not the old adage, defense wins championships. It's not the same NFL. It's good offenses win championships with opportunistic defenses. That's what you need. That's what the Eagles need.
Show people that hat. I just realized what you got there. Look at this.
Draft 5.
It's even Longhorn colors.
That's right. That's right. When he's drafted to Philly, it turns green, baby.
Dude, he wears the flat brim too. That's a good looking hat right there,
brother. 5, baby. I am doing everything in my realm of possible. I'm doing everything I can to bring this guy to Philly, because I think it's such a right move for the Eagles. It just makes too much sense to me. You hear people, they would rather draft the third best edge rusher than a guy that can help win the Super Bowl. Yeah.
There's no logic to that.
I mean, it really depends. To me, it depends where you're at. Like, if you're a couple years away from the Super Bowl, I get it. But when you were one series away from winning, and you have the 10th pick overall, and I'm not even saying you have to use the 10th pick, but you're in a situation where you're going to win now. This guy's going to come in, and every single carry he has is going to be a meaningful carry. So I think at some points in time, you can have your way of doing things. But if you can't ever adjust or be open to opportunity, you're going to miss out a lot. And you've got to take advantage of the situation that is in front of us. That's how I see it,
Philly, this is Tone here, knowing what we know about running back shelf life. And I agree, it's about 5 years, okay? Mm-hmm. This offense is so elite. You think I care about a 5-year-old first-round pick? Absolutely, especially if you go out and win the Super Bowl. Who gives a shit about that, right? Who cares?
Right. Well, I mean, we just had Jalen Reagor, he's gone. We had Andre Dillard, he's gone. These are first-round picks that didn't even last 5 years. So it happened.
And you got Derek Barnett on a GI Bill. He sucks the whole time. I mean,
right.
Come on, man.
And you got 2 picks. It's not like you're using the only first-round pick you have. This is an extra pick. And think about this, Sills. I want to ask you this. Imagine if the Eagles were in a position where they trade back out of 10. Let's say you trade back out of 10 and you get an extra first-round pick, right? So you get an extra first-round pick plus what you have. Now, you go into next year with 2 1s, 2 2s, 3 3s, 2 4s. At what point do you say, you know what? I think we're going to be able to follow our draft the way we want to, but we can go off the beat right here and draft a talent like Bijan Robinson. To me, it just, the opportunity is there to be seized.
Here's what I suggested too. If you don't have the onions to move up to get Anderson at 3, Bijan, you're not doing it. Jalen Carter, maybe Paris Johnson. If you're not going to take one of those guys, I said this: trade out, get 2 2s and 2 3s, and I'll show you why. Get a 2 and a 3 for this year, and then a 2 and a 3 for next year. Let Howie go out, scour the rosters like he did last year for Gardner. Look at what he did with Gardner Johnson. He turned him into the $6 million man with 9 days to the start of the season. You take one of next year's picks that you traded out of 10 to go get maybe a quality player on a 1-year deal. And you bring them in, okay, knowing full well you may not be able to keep them, but if it helped you win the Super Bowl and plug the gap for 1 year, with all those picks you have next year with compensation picks, use some of those picks at 10 for commodities on trading for players. Make sense?
It makes total sense to me. I mean, I've been real at, everybody talks about Bijan at 10. My focus hasn't even been Bijan at 10. My focus has been take Jalen Carter, take a defensive player at 10, fine. But with that 30th pick and that extra second, that's where you've got to make the move up. And that's where you snag him right there. That's how I would play it if I was the Eagles.
How about this one? I was talking to a friend of mine last night, and he's in the NFL, and I said, boy, the Eagles need another number 3. He goes, why? What do you expect the number 3 guy to do in Philly? Have 50 catches? I went, no, but if it's, he goes, wouldn't you rather have the illusion of a guy running a 4-3, potentially breaking the top off of a defense? What fears you more? A guy with 5 catches who can't get it in the end zone, or a guy that could break your defense down running 4 3s? I go, the guy with 4-3. And he's shown he can catch that. And I said, so you're saying, he goes, I wouldn't do anything with number 3. I'd keep that guy there because let me tell you something. The one thing a coordinator is going to do, he's not going to look at a number 3 guy who's got 15 catches on the year. And Zach Pascal doesn't frighten you, dude.
No.
Quez Watkins does because he gets behind you.
And
he can break down a defense. So to me, doesn't it make more sense to stay status quo at that position then? I'm not saying you don't draft a guy maybe in 4, 5, and 6. But to me, at the end of the day, I'm more fearful of Quez's speed getting behind my defense than I am a guy making 5 catches that and AJ and Devontae, I'm still trying to develop those guys, and I don't want to take any catches away from Dallas Goedert. So, I mean, doesn't it make more sense just to stay pat at where that is right now?
Yeah, I mean, it does. I never really looked at it from that perspective, and I kind of like it. Because it does make sense. But I wasn't too keen on rushing or pushing Quez Watkins out the door. I don't mind bringing in competition. I do think he has something to offer, and that speed is something I really, really like. I agree with it. The 2 real holes on offense I see are possibly that right guard spot because we just don't know what Jurgens, and then the running back spot. I don't see how you can feel comfortable at the back at all. I don't.
See, if I was relying on my number 3 wideout to have 50 catches, that's one thing. That's like Kansas City. There's no real one there except for the tight end, right? So the rest of them are going to share the load when it comes to catching catches. So you maybe want a better upgrade at 3 making catches, but if you got 2,000-yard wide receivers with 90 catches, it's not imperative for me to get Quez Watkins 50 catches. It's imperative for Quez to be a threat deep. And so I think people in Philly are looking at that 3rd hole and going, hey, we need a better player there. I don't know about that. I mean,
Yeah, I kind of agree. I kind of agree. I'm not in a rush to get rid of Quez. I don't mind bringing in competition, but yeah, I'm not in a rush. I don't think it's as imperative as people think, but I do think people get frustrated because of the fumble, because of the drop.
and
That's the
him
problem.
not fighting in traffic. I mean, having the football
Yeah.
taken away from him sometimes because he does have that happen to him. Now, I'm going to bring this up to you about Jordan Davis. So, how impressed were you with Jordan Davis's combine last year?
The combine?
Yeah.
Very, very impressed.
4'7", 340 pounds, whatever it was, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I freaked out.
Ran insane drills, right?
Yeah, I was freaking out. I was watching it live. I was live.
I was too.
Yeah.
Men that big aren't supposed to move like that.
No.
Okay, so let's fast forward to this year's combine. Who impressed you the most this year at this year's combine?
Kalijah Cansey.
How about Nolan Smith?
Nolan Smith too, yeah. Yeah.
So we're going to go down that line again with Nolan Smith, and we're going to watch a workout warrior who had 3 sacks a year at his time at Georgia, non-productive, played 8 games last year. And you're going to pit, not you, Philly, but people are going to fall in love with Nolan Smith because Nolan Smith had a great combine, the same thing as Jordan Davis did. Didn't you learn your lesson last year? Look at the tape.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I like Nolan Smith. I don't like him at 10, though. So it's hard.
Do you like him at 30?
Maybe. It would depend on what's there. It would depend on the board. I like the kid from Georgia Tech, Keon White.
Yeah.
That's a kid I think is like,
it's a value pick too.
Very raw, a lot of upside, but I don't dislike Nolan Smith, but I wouldn't take him at 10, I really think that I know this is like not what people think. I think they're going, if Jalen Carter's not there, I think they're going offense early because that's their bread and butter at the end of the day. I really think,
and it helps Jalen
offensive line right away. You have to, people are so caught up in building for the future 2-3 years down the road. But what about next year? I haven't heard people say, all right, this is going to make us better this year. We were just in the Super Bowl. I'm not ready to take any steps back. I want to go back. So to me, I look at it, the first pick is, all right, who's going to come in and who could I put in right away that will impact this team? Offensive lineman, you get me a guard like a Paris Johnson, I can put him right guard day one. That's an impact. Jalen Carter, I think he makes an impact. Will Anderson, I think he would make an impact. Bijan Robinson, he makes an impact.
Very good.
So that's how I'm looking at this draft.
I watch this too. Mulata, 6'8", 6'5" Dickerson. I do this on the center, HOF.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right guard with Paris, 6'6". Your right tackle, 6'5". So you're theoretically 6'5", 6'6" across. Your average with Mulata being 6'8". You're 6'6" across the board in your O-line. You think that helps Hurts out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. And you never can have too many offensive linemen. And what I like with a guy like Paris Johnson is that when Lane retires, I can put him out there at right tackle.
Correct. You're developing his replacement while he's being productive for you, instead of having Cam Jurgens sitting on the sidelines chewing on ice.
Right.
You have Lane Johnson's replacement in the game, developing, playing in between two Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
Being coached by a Hall of Fame coach.
Exactly. I agree.
It just makes sense.
And if you think about it, if you look at where the Eagles have allocated their resources this all season, they haven't done anything on offense except for Penny. Everything's been defense. That leads me to believe that they're going to go offense early, and it's going to surprise some people.
Are you sold on Nakobe Dean?
I like Nakobe Dean talent-wise, but I have to see it on the field. I have to see it on the field first.
Here's where I'm going with it. So Devin White potentially could be available.
Mm-hmm.
Would you take that 30th pick Send it to Tampa. Can you imagine doing this? At 10, you draft Jalen Carter.
Mm-hmm.
At 30, you trade the pick for Devin White. Got to pay $20 million, $18 million for the guy, but he's rated as the best inside linebacker in the National Football League. In Philly, he's been the captain of the Buccaneers the last 3 years. He's won a Super Bowl. He's won division titles. And he's a guy you wouldn't have to talk to for the next decade. And you stop the bleeding at that position by putting a guy who is as good as Roquan Smith in the middle of your defense, where you've already got problems with depth at tackle, your safety positions question marks. You don't even have legitimate linebackers yet. And you put a guy like that who is the legitimate linebacker. Would you do it? The Bucs need draft choices too. You know why? They're salary cap hell. They've got to dump a ton of salaries because of that whole Brady fiasco. Well, it delivered. So would you think about doing that? Can you think look at this. Think of what your draft would be. If you got Jalen Carter and you got Devin White, you think that's a grand slam draft?
Yeah. Defensively, yeah, it would be. I'd still have problems offensively, though, in my opinion. That's what scares me. Because
well, you just answered it, but you just answered it in the draft with 2 moves.
Right. You would get 2 impact players. There's no question about it. But I still need that running back because I think they've got a legitimate problem.
I'm with you with the running back, man.
They have a legitimate problem. What if Penny goes down and he gets hurt?
What do you mean, what if? You mean when?
When? Right. He's not been healthy. He's not been healthy his career. I got to address the running back. Now, I'd like Bijan. I'll take Gibbs. To me, I need to have one of those 2 guys.
But what kills me is that when people start talking sideways about the running back position at number 10, I'm like, you should be doing everything in your power that every move you make has something to do with the guy you're going to pay $50 million to.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Yeah.
You help Jalen. You put a and you know what? If Jalen's going to take advantage of the old line, Philly, let the entire offense take advantage of the old line. Put an elite guy behind him.
Yeah.
What's the problem with that?
I think people get hung up on the fact that they hear a running back is a devalued position. It's a devalued position. It's the valued position. I debate people all the time over this.
How could it be a devalued position if it helps you win the Super Bowl?
Philly, I agree.
If a placeholder
right
helped you win the Super Bowl and you had to draft him at 10,
right?
Wouldn't you? Yes. If I'm one thing away from winning everything, I don't give a shit what the commodity is, what the money is.
I look at Bijan like this. I don't just look at him as a running back. And
he's a pass catcher too. You put him in he's Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, you're drafting a weapon. You don't look at him as a running back. Look at him as a weapon, an instant weapon on your team. And if you say it like that, people kind of go, yeah, okay, yeah, need a weapon, but I think people get hung up on the fact that he's a running back and that we have a great line, so we don't need to, and we can go address another position. But I don't know. I really don't know in this draft, maybe 2 other guys that would come in and instantly upgrade your team. There's only 2 other guys that I think do that. Carter and Will Anderson Jr. He's going to come in and he is going to be your best running back on your team. He may even win Rookie of the Year being behind that Eagles offensive line.
How about this? How about this? Folks in Carolina have been telling me when the Niners made that move to get McCaffrey, they had been negotiating with Howie Roseman to get him up to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And they were interested in bringing McCaffrey, but San Francisco had to overpay for him, which they did. They gave him a boatload. Howie wasn't willing to give up as much as San Francisco was. Doesn't that tell you, though, the kind of player I think this is one of the reasons why they moved off of Miles Sanders is because they wanted a player on what you just said that resembles that. Yeah. Well, Bijan Robinson, he resembles the player that Howie's number one trade day acquisition. There were two of them. Brian Burns from Carolina, the end. Mm-hmm. The Rams offered them 2 ones, Philly, and guess what? Carolina said no, but they sent McCaffrey instead to San Francisco.
I know.
The second guy was McCaffrey. And Howie's doesn't that kind of tell you that they're kind of maybe leaning on they don't have one guy in that backfield that resembles McCaffrey.
I think there's a better shot than people think.
Me too.
I'm not saying it's going to happen or it's likely, but I think there's a better shot than people think because we know for a fact that the Eagles wanted McCaffrey out of the draft. They were willing to spend a first-round pick on him, but they couldn't get him. So I believe if they view him in the same light as they see Christian McCaffrey, I think they're taking him.
How about what this guy just said? It's another great point. If Bijan comes in, he's not only the best running back on the team, but he automatically turns into the third best wide receiver on the team.
Third best? Let's see. You think he's over Goddard? I would say fourth, maybe. Right? Because Goddard's a pretty good receiver.
He's tremendous.
So I would say,
but he might have the same impact as Goddard,
right?
Because Goddard blocks and catches. Yeah, he runs the ball,
and he also you also get to take pressure off of Jalen Hurts having to constantly run on those 3rd and 1s. I can now hand it off to a 220-pound back. I don't have to risk my quarterback nearly as much. You know, I mean, people talk about. Like, I argue people talk about Kareem Hunt. Let's go sign Kareem Hunt. Well, you're going to pay Kareem Hunt more money than you're going to pay Bijan Robinson.
Correct.
Because he's a veteran. And also, if the Browns are saying somebody's slow, I ain't touching them.
I heard that. I heard the same thing. He said that the Browns, the reason that they're not bringing him back is because they believe he's lost a step.
So why would I want him?
What'd you think about Zeke Elliott?
I would rather Zeke over Hunt. But I come back to the same problem. Why am I going to spend extra money to pay Zeke when I can get Bijan Robinson for 5 years at what, $4 million a year?
Why would I pay money for guys that have no tread left?
Yeah. I mean,
like Tone just said, and you and I agree. So these guys, after 5 years, dude, they start unless you're a freakazoid like Derrick Henry. Right. I mean, there's Derrick Henry, Adrian Peterson. There's guys like that, Philly, that are just they're just freak shows. And I
saw Henry in high school. I watched Henry. Yeah, I was in Yulee, Florida, and he goes to Yulee High School, and I just happened to go to this game. I was like, I'm gonna go check this game, and I'm like, this guy's running for like almost 300 yards. Like, who is that guy? It was Derrick Henry. So he's a beast, man. I love that guy.
Second round too, by the way, he went. Yeah. He didn't go in the first round. Najee Harris can thank him for that. So okay, so you in your heart don't think they take the kid at 10?
No, I don't think they're taking him at 10. I do think there's a chance that they do something with him in the second. With that second pick, I do think there's a possibility that they would trade up for him.
Philly? How about if Robinson falls to like 14?
Yeah,
would you trade down and draft him?
Well, it depends. If Jalen Carter's there, I got to take Jalen Carter.
Okay, to me, if none of those guys are there,
no. Yeah,
and Bijan's still there
at 14.
At 12, 13?
Yeah, I take him.
Would you trade down to get more picks and land on the game? Dude,
I would.
I think that's a possibility because you know what? I don't think he's going to be a top 10 guy.
No, he's not. And I don't think
but he could be a top 13 guy.
Yeah. Could. Well, the reports are that Belichick loves him, that they might take him at 14. So we have Belichick, the greatest coach ever. He doesn't mind taking a quarterback at 14. Why should we? I don't understand it,
My fear is the Cowboys trading up.
Well, yeah, I think the Cowboys want him if he's there. I don't know if they'll be aggressive. See, I think the Eagles, they've got all those picks next year. You've got 2 2s. If you got that 30th pick and you took that same second round pick, you probably could get up to like 15, 16, 17. That's the move. Like if you could get Carter at 10 and then come back up and take Robinson, now I would have 2 impact guys right away. Blue chip guys. I really think that's the move. And I think the Eagles, I think if they like them as much as they like Christian McCaffrey, I think we got a shot. I don't think they'll take him at 10, but I do think they will either trade back or trade up for him. I'm not saying that I think they're going to, but I think there's a better chance than people make it seem.
Would you feel comfortable with him taking him at 13? Because then you would have got picks because you traded the pick. You probably would have got a second or potentially another third for the guy to trade down.
Yeah, listen, I'll be honest with you. Me personally, I've come to the point where if Anderson and Carter are off the board, I have no problem taking them personally. I know they won't.
I agree too.
But because you gotta take advantage of opportunity. You're a Super Bowl team who just lost their best running back, who could really go back, and you're talking about making your offense better, protecting your quarterback, and providing stability for the next 5 years. I don't see where the downside is.
Completely agree. We're getting closer and closer. The lid is spectacular. Draft 5. I mean, the lid is spectacular. Don't forget, make sure, because I did the other day, Google Philly 500 and watch his podcast. He kills it. He absolutely knocks it out of the park.
Appreciate it.
And he goes back and forth kind of the same way we do. It's a hilarious, informative show, and you do a great job, Philly. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you
for having me on.
time for me.
Appreciate it, man.
You got it.